Very good afternoon and welcome. This is Market View, the second episode this week. My name is Lungilele Makakola. Thank you for tuning in. You can watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We are on DSTV channel as well, channel 286. There have been widespread reports of significant deficits in maize production across southern African countries due to the ongoing El Nino weather patterns causing severe drought conditions. Countries such as Zambia and Zimbabwe have reported alarming declines in maize production, 60% in Zambia and 50% in Zimbabwe due to a 20% reduction in the February rainfall. The National Maize Corporation has also expressed concerns about potential price increases for maize and beans in local markets, citing a drop in Eswatini's maize production from 85,000 tons last season to 74,000 tons currently, despite an average annual requirement of 140,000 tons. The Chief Executive Officer, Mavela Vilane, says they are scaling up efforts of maize production in the country as the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, recently predicted a shortage of maize in the SADC region. Business journalist Nelsiwe Ntlangamandla will join us for this discussion. Then later, Sanele Sibiya will give us an overview of today's financial markets. For now, let's take a look at business news. Our first story, Montigny Investments has said it is not monopolizing the timber industry. The Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Leroux, dispelled these rumors and explained that they are working with over 500 Eswatini, helping them in exporting their timber. Leroux says there are very expensive international certification standards that small and medium enterprises need to undergo in the sector, which they are not able to afford. Hence, it becomes cheaper to export through Montigny.
Montigny Investments produces about 1.2 million tons of timber per year, making it one of the biggest exporters in this sector. There has been concerns that the company has monopolized this sector, and the Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Leroux, says this is far from the truth.
Montigny has been accused of being anti-competitive, especially to small growers. And I've got sympathy for that view, but it's not rooted in truth. And unfortunately, there is some education required here. The markets that the timber growers in Eswatini have in South Africa, and therefore in countries like Japan, they require very strict certification of timber, which means the way you grow and manage your timber needs to be done in a very sustainable way. And there are international certification bodies that you have to belong to. They're expensive to do the audits, that come and check that we meet the highest standards in the world in order to get the best prices in the best markets. Now, anybody in Eswatini is free to join those organizations, and we would encourage small growers to join them. But for a small grower to join it is very difficult. You need audit officers, you need strong policies in place, you need human resource managers, and often for a small grower or for a farmer, it's difficult to meet the standards of FSC. And that's where we work with small growers to say, sell through us. You are free to sell directly to the market if you want to. You are free to join FSC if you want to. But go and do the maths. You'll see that it's easier, better, quicker, cheaper to do it through us and to do it on our existing channels with our existing transport.
He explains that they work with a number of local businesses, helping them to export.
So on the small growers, I don't have an exact number, but it's probably around about 500 to 600 that we work with. And the volume of the timber, and it's particularly what we call black wattle or mtolo, has been very consistent at 10 to 15,000 tons per month that comes out. So we're putting millions and millions of emalangeni per month into communities, mainly at the Highveld, because that's where mtolo grows the best. And it's been very consistent over the last 20 years. And we would like to work with communities to even increase that, because we do have the opportunity to increase those exports through South Africa and particularly to Japan.
Leroux has also highlighted that in the past 10 years, they have spent about 300 million emalangeni in preventing forest fires, which ravages forest, hampering the forest industry's major contribution to the economy. For Market View, Nelson Ntlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Mbabane.
The National Maize Corporation says it is working tirelessly to pay agro dealers who are owed between 25 million to over 30 million Malangeni since the year 2018. The Chief Executive Officer Mavela Vilane said this when he shared the different initiatives they are doing to ensure the country has enough maize and beans.
Agro-dealers play a vital role in food production because it is where farmers get inputs for farming, especially now that government has introduced the subsidy. Not being paid on time has been a major challenge to the agro-dealers, and the National Maize Corporation says this matter is being sorted.
We have approached the Minister of Agriculture to say, let us be assisted in ensuring that we settle all the outstanding debt so that we can start on a new footing going forward, so that everyone that is involved in the business of assisting us to assist the Eswatini is happy. Because we have since realized that the small agro dealers in particular, as well as the private tractor owners, they rely on liquidity and stuff like that. So we are actually pushing them out of business with our conduct of delaying their payments. So we want to plead with them to say it's not a practice that we are encouraging as a company, but we will improve going forward. And we want to assure them that there's still work to be done. Let them partner with us so that we can transform the space when it comes to local production of maize and beans. As I speak to you right now, we still have outstanding debts with agro dealers that we still need to pay even up to date.
How much says that debt?
I may not have the right figures with me right now, but I think it's close to, if not in excess of 25, close to 30 million Malangeni.
The National Maize Corporation says it is also working on reducing the delays in paying private tractor owners. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Egutseni.
For international story, a corrupted software update from CrowdStrike disabled 8.5 million Windows devices, highlighting the need for quality control in software updates. Shares in CrowdStrike plunged over 13% as cybersecurity experts warn of hacking attempts and authorities urge vigilance. Businesses struggle to recover from the massive outage.
A global IT outage caused by a corrupted software update from security company CrowdStrike has disabled an estimated 8.5 million Windows devices, according to Microsoft. This incident, potentially the largest cyber event in history, underscores the importance of quality control in software updates. The outage has prompted warnings from cybersecurity experts and opportunistic hacking attempts. Authorities in the UK and Australia have advised vigilance against fake communications on websites. CrowdStrike's CEO urged users to verify sources before downloading fixes. The incident surpasses previous significant cyber attacks such as WannaCry and NotPetya. Shares in cybersecurity firms CrowdStrike have plunged more than 13% as the company reckons with the aftermath of causing a global IT outage. Chief Security Officer Sean Henry said the incident had been a gut punch for the firm, which had previously been one of the most trusted names in the industry. We let down the very people we committed to protect, and to say we're devastated is a huge understatement, he said. Many businesses are still recovering after a faulty content update last week crashed 8.5 million Microsoft Windows computers around the world. As the U.S. presidential election campaign is rolled by Joe Biden's decision to pull out of the race against Donald Trump, we look at the role Silicon Valley has been playing in the contest so far. In Silicon Valley, some prominent tech figures are backing Donald Trump and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. These supporters include Peter Thiel, a venture capitalist and early Facebook investor, who has donated millions to both Trump and Vance campaigns. David Sachs, another venture capitalist and a former PayPal executive, has also supported these politicians. Their backing reflects a broader trend of increasing political involvement among tech executives who influence policy and elections through significant financial contributions. These political engagements highlight the intersections of technology and politics in shaping future policies and governance. Reporting international news, Spirosami Gininza, sourced from France 24, VOA, DW.
And that's it for our business news. After the break, Nelsiwe joins us for a discussion on the shortfall of maize production.
Ujala masoda mahle kunathi lesa.
Sabatandi ukuthi njengalokhu sifile sive sithi khulumeni.
Welcome back. This is Market View. It's 10 minutes after 2. Thank you for tuning in. The National Maize Corporation says Eswatini imported about 500,000 Malangeni in maize and beans last season. The Chief Executive Officer, Mavela Vilane, says they are scaling up efforts of maize production in the country as the Food and Agricultural Organization recently predicted a shortage of maize in the SADC region.
Demand around 140,000 metric tons of maize annually or per year. And last harvesting season, that's 2023-2024 financial year, we harvested around 85,000 metric tons, which therefore translates to a deficit of 55,000 metric tons that we then find ourselves having to import as a country. We were only interested in maize, but I think the picture should also be painted for beans. For beans as a country, we demand around 7,000 metric tons, and we produce on average less than 500 metric tons per year, which therefore translates again to over 6,500 metric tons of imports for beans. Collectively, between maize and beans, when you take that to monetary terms, the country finds itself exporting around 500 million emalangeni per year. The country, I want to say, the country finds itself taking out money to the tune of 500 million or more a year, buying maize and beans from largely South Africa, in terms of maize, and then beans from Mozambique, Malawi, and other neighboring countries. The Minister of Agriculture and key stakeholders recently conducted a pre-harvest assessment to establish how much maize as a country we have produced in the current harvesting season. And the projections were that from the 85,000 metric tons that we harvested in the previous harvesting season, this season we will be harvesting around 74,000 metric tons, which is a decline. And you remember that in the 2022-2023 financial year, we harvested in excess of 120,000 metric tons. So it's a downward trend when it comes to our national production. And due to the El Nino and the drought that we experienced as a region in terms of SADC, the two major producers of maize in the SADC region are Zambia and South Africa. And their production as well has been adversely affected to the extent that Zambia earlier in the season went to the extent of banning the exportation of white maize into any other country in the quest for ensuring that they have enough as a country to sustain themselves until the next harvest. We are seeing a similar trend in South Africa. We are not sure when it will happen, but we anticipate that even in South Africa, they are likely to ban export in the not-so-distant future. So this puts our country at risk. That is why, therefore, then we have in our current strategy that we are proposing as a corporation as well as a Minister of Agriculture, that we need to go to the extent of, as a country, of building our own national grain reserves that can sustain this country for 3 years or more, even if anything like drought or anything that will reduce our yields as a country. And we are putting in place, again, measures to improve the productivity of maize. Currently, on average, our farmers are producing around 3 to 5 metric tons per hectare, when 7 to 10 metric tons per hectare is possible. So, as the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini, we have lined up a liming program, because we have since established and realized that most of our farmers are producing on acidic soil. So we need to lime all the soils in the country so that we can push up production and make sure that the soils are good for and conducive for production. There are three key issues when it comes to improving yields of any crop. You talk to the genetics, you talk to the environment, and then you talk to the management system. So we are encouraging our farmers to adopt the best available technology in terms of genetically superior seed varieties, not to say we are promoting genetically modified or what to call seed varieties, but we're saying genetically superior seed varieties, and then plant at the right time to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, as well as then make sure that you put in place the right management system for you to benefit from that. So we have extension officers, we call them farmer development officers, that are stationed nationwide, and we are in joint collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure that the extension service that is rendered to the farmers is of the best standard.
And that was NMC CEO Mavela Vilane reacting on the warning by FAO that there's a decline in maize production, particularly in the SADC region, Eswatini included, and in countries such as Zambia and Zimbabwe. Joining me now is Nelson Langamandla, our business journalist, to have a further discussion on this impact and on the impact of farmers. Good afternoon, Nelly, and welcome. I think we can take it from the farmers' perspective. I will assume you have had a conversation with them just to get clearly on what went wrong. Is there too much pressure on them? Are farm inputs that expensive?
Thank you so much, Lulu. Ngivusele nembukeli we-Market View. Balimi nasingakhumbula kahle eminyakeni lophelile i-department yethu yakamethi ishito ukuthi kungendeka kube na El Nino eveni. Ngaleso sizathu ke balimi esikhulumisene kakhulu nelitiko letekulima lelichazile kwekuthi balimi sebanayo le uncertainty, abati noma baye kolima noma bangayi. So kwaba khona lokuthi timvula tibe khona, but timvula tifike tashaya kakhulu kwabadangcotho. The weather conditions were very extreme. Balimi bangakhoni ke kuphuma kahle baye kuyolima. Lokho ke nako ngilokunye labalimi kube nemthelela njengoba besekudzeni nje sikhulumisene nabo balimi. Lenye indzaba lekhona yindzaba yawo input costs, kwekuthi sebayadula bomanyolo, sekuyadula kulima, kanti ke hulumende nanoma ayifaka leyo mali ye subsidy ukhanza lokwekuthi umlimi vele lama consumption costs sekakhule kakhulu. Ukhanza ukuthi sekunako lokukhompyutha kwekuthi angeke phela ngihambe ngiyolima kanti asengijake nako ukuthi ngithenge lokudla kucala. Those are some of the things that have caused kwekuthi kugcine balimi bathi kungasalimeki ngalendlela bebalima ngako ngaphambili.
Yeah, as FAO ashito njenele ukuthi vele the situation is dire. SADC region particularly is mostly affected because of El Nino and the weather patterns. NMC CEO talked about scaling up efforts as NMC. Are they practical? See Taibona and Willem Shinjo as time goes on.
Nasimlalela kahle CEO uchazile kwekuthi sebacabanga nekuthi bende yona i-grain reserve lapho ekudzeni labe besiye khona nje sikhanze ukuthi NMC so yetamanyalo ukuthi alethe balimi ndzawonye kwekuthi bakhone ukuthi balime, so yabafundzisa nalokuthi balima kanjani, vele imiphi lemicabo lekufanele ukuthi ilandzelwe nangabe balima. Uyachaza ke NMC kwekuthi ubachazele nje lapha nekwekuthi lithani lakhiwa masaka langaka konke lokho kwendela ukuthi ba understand kangcono lokwekuthi kumcoka kangakanani vele lokuthi balime ukhumbule mbukele ekhaya ukuthi NMC uyathenga nakubalimi labangasibo mhlawumbe bosoma business labakhulu uthenga kubo bonke balimi. So hence the need for them to go to the communities kule exercise lena lese bayicalile babafundzise vele ukuthi silima kanje na umaster uthengisa.
All right, so as part of scaling efforts as an MC, I think he also talked about exporting to overseas countries of it ukuthi sabato exported to overseas countries. Tell us more about that.
Lakushoko njengoba kutabe kude kahle ummbila kulesifundza saka SADC uthi ke we are going to import kulamanye emave lokusho kona kwekuthi sitaw sesithenga kulamanye emave ngalokuthi vele la ka SADC sekushiwo ukuthi kude kahle lombila lokunye nje indzaba lengitayithinza kwekuthi NMC uyathenga nakubo kuma commercial farmers lapho khona ukhanza ukuthi bosomabhizinisi balapha eveni nabo bayamthengisela NMC and ngibo labamthengisela kakhulu, but the problem is the business is contending with high input costs. Le environment nayo, even the supply chain nayo ike ya disturbeka. Nasingakhumbula kunetimpi kubo Red Sea akusakhona kahle ukuthi le timfo ti exporteke noma ke tingene kumave lase Africa. So tawukhanza ukuthi ke sekuyakhula nalama cost. Angibekise nje thina sithenga mhlawumbe ngeke Eswatini akathengi mhlawumbe le kubo Ukraine lapho khona le timfo tikhona khona, but uthenga eSouth Africa. Utawukhanza ukuthi nasathenga because sekusetshenziswe tindiza nyalo the Red Sea busy kuyaliwa le mode of transport seyiyadula because letimfo setita matima ngala, so tawukhanza ukuthi nasetita ke nala kangwani sekatithenga mhlawumbe eSouth Africa uhulumende setiyamdulela hence titawudula nala despite the subsidy, but ema farmers ayakhala vele ukuthi cha le cost yekulima seyisidulela kakhulu.
All right, thanks so much Nelly, always appreciate your insight. Besikhulumisana na Nelsie Ndlangamandla who is our in-house business journalist just to get her feel on this issue that the AFO has warned has rather predicted a shortfall in maize production ngekuhamba kwesikhathi. NMC CEO reacted ukuthi they're scaling up efforts as a NMC kuzama kubuyisa simo esimeni. Asibahlole when you come back, we take a look at a market analysis.
Be sure to catch Business Watch every Wednesday between 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., where we feature the latest updates on business news, market trends, and exclusive interviews with industry leaders, as well as insights on emerging small and medium enterprises in the commercial sector. Business Watch, your business leader.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Market View, the Tuesday edition. Thank you for tuning in. We now want to connect with Mr. Sibia, in-house economist, to give us an overview of today's financial markets. A very good afternoon, Mr. Sibia. Thank you for joining us in the afternoon. How are the markets reacting today, particularly the Lilangeni against the dollar? I see it's up by 49.49% this afternoon. Take us through the figures today.
Hi, Lou. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon to the viewer. So when we are looking at the currencies, you can see that the dollar has gained a bit of strength against the Dilangen and so did the euro. But the Japanese yen continues to be very weak while we are still awaiting news to come out from the Bank of Japan on how they're going to prop up the euro and the Nikkei overall. But basically what we are seeing shifting the markets today is, we're expecting earnings to come out in the US today. There's going to be major earnings, and that's like shifting money to the US, while domestic we are also awaiting and holding back to see what the inflation numbers are going to be in anticipation of seeing whether September is going to bring those rate cuts both in South Africa and across the globe. So that's what the markets are looking at today, Lulu.
Okay, so when we look at international markets, perhaps when we start with US markets, how are markets reacting today, international markets reacting today?
So what we are seeing in the US, we are basically seeing a rally. Markets are really just responding positively because it's earnings week today. The major caps are going to be positive earnings. We're expecting, your NVIDIAs, your Google, your Facebook, and quite a number of these mega tech companies to really place any higher earnings this week. So that's what is overshadowing markets this week. But there is still that level of optimism or a bit of confusion around how the political landscape is going to look like, following President Biden pull out of the presidential race. And also we're seeing markets not paying much attention to, the news that are coming up this week. We're expecting inflation figures and the purchasing managers index to come up. But what we are seeing is just dividend investors are coming into play regardless of whatever the economic conditions are going to be, because there is this high earnings that are going to be coming this week.
So European markets nakhona ngabe time kanjani? I see is quite the FTSE 100 is performing quite well today. Take us through those figures.
So again, what we are seeing there is still that earnings frenzy, because even that side, we are seeing companies like Spotify doing better. The tech companies are really just putting their best foot forward, and we are seeing dividend investors coming into play in the markets. And what we are also seeing there is, there's also a positive mood around in September. The ECB is really coming out to state that they are likely going to cut interest rates in September. So that's why we are seeing Europe moving better this week.
What's happening in the Asian
today.
markets? Yeah, I see the numbers are not, markets are not reacting quite well this afternoon. Take us through the Asian stock market.
So what we are seeing in Asia is, as you know, just a couple of days back, the Chinese authorities just came out of the blue and surprised markets with an interest rate cut. So markets are still awaiting and steadily looking at what the direction is going to be, because they failed that we are not seeing a clear monetary policy cut. But what we are seeing is China really just chasing growth, and one would have expected that growth to be chased through fixing the fundamentals, fixing the property bubble, and putting in stimulus that are going to drive manufacturing. But we are not seeing that. We just saw a very rapid interest rate cut, so that actually spooked markets. And then what we are seeing in Japan is the issue of expectations in terms of how the Bank of Japan is going to prop up the weak yen and also stabilize the Nikkei. So that's why we are seeing all those negatives, and it comes with the background that the BOJ has not yet responded on how they are going to prop up the yen and how they are going to really shift and make sure that the Nikkei stays at that level.
Okay, so moving on to commodities, what's happening there? I see gold is still trading at over 2.4 US dollars, and Brent crude oil is still at 82.24 US dollars today.
Yes. So what we are seeing, the gold is continuing to shine, on the background of this very uncertain interest rate environment. So it seems there isn't a clear market interest rate monetary policy path coming out from the US. So, there is a lot of that uncertainty. So we're seeing gold continuing to climb, even though it's earnings season. I would have expected to really not continue this upward trend. But in terms of your Brent crude, what we're seeing there is we are seeing a relatively weak demand coming out from China, but still, what we're also seeing there is that weak demand from across the globe and the weak economic performance coming out of the US really signals that there might be a bit of surpluses going forward. Poor demand means that the oil that would have been mined is not going to be used. So that is why we are seeing that. So markets are bracing for a bit of surplus levels going forward.
Lastly, Mr. Sibiya, take us through the Eswatini Stock Exchange and the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. How are they reacting this afternoon?
All right, thank you, Lulu. So what we are seeing in Johannesburg is, that we've lost a bit of ground, but we're still above that 80,000 mark. So that means we are still seeing that optimism remain in the market. However, we still also are waiting to see clearer direction in terms of the monetary policy path in South Africa as well. And we're expecting how the Reserve Bank of South Africa is going to react in September. But my bet is we are going to start seeing a downward trend once we start seeing a downward trend in the US as well. So that is why we are seeing those mixed reactions within the markets. But in Eswatini, again, we have not seen any changes owing to the fact that, we post earnings season, we should expect to see more changes when we get to earnings season again, probably around September, October.
All right. Thanks so much, Mrs. Pia, for that overview of today's financial markets. Always appreciated. We've come to the end of our program. Lomuhla will join us again tomorrow at 2 p.m. for Netbank Business Watch. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. Nsale kahle.